The following podcast contains strong language.
Hello and welcome back to the Ciné Rambles Podcast. Now, unfortunately, Andrew will not be with us this week because he's currently under self-isolation. Now, there's nothing confirmed so far, but we're just taking a precaution. So in the meantime, this is me, Nick, and I'm here with Grace, our co-host for the week.
Hello, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Please don't hit the desk.
I just punched the chair.
So Grace, tell us all a bit about yourself.
I am 22 and I am very into musical theatre. And I'm not much of a film expert, but I will try my best.
Yeah, that's the spirit. We've got a custom-made show this week to account for Grace's specialties in musicals.
I thought you just meant my specialness. She's a special child.
That as well. Yes, as I'm sure a lot of you have probably realised by now, it's not a great time for cinema at the moment. With today, most of the big cinema chains having closed until further notice amid the coronavirus outbreak.
Yes. And
with all the constant pushing back of films at Hollywood to either later in the year or just indefinitely until this whole thing blows over, there's not been a whole lot to really talk about film-wise. So we are improvising a bit for the next few weeks, but we have got some things planned that I think should hopefully tide everyone over until proper releases start coming out.
Which, fingers crossed, won't be too long, hopefully.
Yes, because I don't like putting the entirety of society as a whole on hold for months at a time.
And no one really wants to stay in their room for more than a few days.
Nope. So, on to the news. So, yes, obviously, coronavirus is a thing, but there's some interesting news in terms of streaming. That Disney Plus, among others, are now releasing films earlier on streaming platforms to account for, an inability to go to the cinema. So, for example, Disney Plus are releasing Frozen 2, I think, is it this weekend?
I haven't looked it up, but I can confirm that for you if you want.
What do you mean? You love Disney? I thought you know all about it.
I haven't seen Frozen. Actually, no, that's a lie. I have seen Frozen 1, but I've not seen Frozen 2.
No. Did you like Frozen 1?
It was okay. It wasn't, my favourite film.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, I know Let It Go, that's about it.
Yeah. Right, so Frozen 1. This is a tangent, but this is what this podcast is all about.
All about tangents.
Do you think the success of Frozen 1 is entirely because of Let It Go?
I definitely think it's played a massive part in it somehow. Because obviously it's the big song that everyone knows, and everyone's like, oh, I gotta listen to it now. It's the one that you sing it and everyone's like, oh, that's from that film. Because
it seems like the film, besides that song, is spectacularly average, I'd describe it as.
Yeah, I don't really remember much about it, and that was a year or so ago that I seen it, so shows you how memorable it is.
Genuinely, I think unless it had the power of the song behind it, I think most people would have forgotten about it compared to other releases.
Yeah, it's not one of Disney's best, but I definitely don't think it's one of their worst, so...
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Kind of that happy medium, I guess.
Frozen 2 was described somewhere as it was like Annihilation, but animated. Maybe really want to see it, but not really. And then I saw bits of it all working at the cinema. I was like, no, I don't.
The only thing I know is what a kid at work told me, and even that was false information, so...
Fake news.
Fake news from
It's
children.
everywhere. But yes, so that's, I believe, is getting released this weekend on Disney Plus in a vain effort to get people to actually buy Disney Plus, because it's... are you going to get it?
No, probably not. I'm not really into that much of streaming services. I'm kind of just leeching off of other people at the moment, so...
So is most of the population, from what I understand.
Yes, well, it's either my boyfriend or his brother's girlfriend. Can't talk. His brother's girlfriend.
Wait, there are 2 Netflix accounts there?
He's paid for it for a month as a free trial, and she's just paid for it, and basically we're all leeching off of her, so...
Paid for a free trial.
Yes.
That's exactly correct.
We've got Amazon, but I don't really use it.
No. Well, also, so Universal, they haven't specified, as far as I've seen, what platform this is going to be released on, but they're releasing The Hunt and Emma Invisible Man as well.
Okay.
I believe also this weekend for streaming, which is a lot earlier than otherwise.
Yeah.
But for $20 each.
Oh, okay, so...
Yeah, which is about £16.50. But
Isn't that more than what the membership is a month, though?
Probably. Well, this is why I'm assuming this is a Sky Cinema or something, as opposed to on Netflix or Amazon.
I haven't seen Sky confirm that yet, but...
No, it's definitely... I'm not sure what platform it's specifically coming up on. But I think that's strange considering the most expensive ticket price at a cinema is gonna be like £12 if you go to an Everyman or something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, are people really gonna pay $20 for The Invisible Man?
For one film?
Yeah, I mean, actually that's unfair. The Invisible Man was alright, but just not $20 alright.
No, I don't think I'd probably pay that much for any film online, to be honest.
No. And then Trolls World Tour is also getting an early release.
Trolls, did you say?
Yeah, Trolls World Tour.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, do you know why I know that's a thing? Because at the cinema I work out, that trailer has been on repeat in the foyer.
And that's what all the kids want to go see.
Do they?
I don't know.
I don't know if anyone wants this. I mean, look, it's an appallingly bad trailer. I cannot stand it. But
well, you can quote it word for word, can't you?
I don't want you to challenge that. The problem is I probably quote more than it than I'd like. But yeah, I think that was supposed to come out Easter weekend and is now, I think, going out on streaming services instead. But it's interesting because we've had sort of simultaneous multi-platform releasing before. Like Field of England, for example, came out on VOD and in cinemas on the same day and was successful financially for it because it gave people the option. But I'm surprised that sort of went away and has only just now come back as a thing.
Yeah, but do you think it's going to have an impact overall on cinemas in terms of in the future, or?
Well, the thing is, the damage, so to speak, of like streaming services is already done to a degree.
Yeah.
Like cinemas have been taking less recently because people have been going to streaming instead. But I think giving people the option, I think the thing is, people would go to cinema now, or people would go to cinema anyway, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think just having stuff available on streaming will give people more options to see stuff. So, for example, like we've been talking about Colour Out of Space recently and Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which are basically only available in London, and that's a lot of expense to go up just to see a film in London for the day. But if it was available on streaming, more people would get to see that, and I think it would just encourage a greater sort of variety of film in people's diet. But yeah, I'm sort of hoping maybe with this, if this proves successful as a move to release these films early, maybe we might see more sort of multi-platform releasing in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so on to some correspondence from last week's episode, just before we move on to our main topics. One of our viewers has been mentioning about Black Panther, which we sort of dismissed last week in terms of representation. Their argument essentially being that as forced and, whatever as it may have been, it is still important to have that sort of black representation, to have like a black people and black society in a position of power, which is rarely seen in cinema.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, from what I've seen online, the general reaction is that it's mainly praised to the fact that it's such like a diverse film and the fact that it's predominantly black actors in main roles.
Yeah, did you see it?
I did, yeah.
Did you like it?
I quite enjoyed it actually. It wasn't one of my favourites, but I wouldn't say, like, in terms of films I've seen sort of in the Marvel universe, I wouldn't say it was the worst one I've seen.
See, that's the thing is, I've been quite down on Black Panther in the past. Like, I've written some pretty scathing things on the blog, which, like, I don't disagree with it as a representation piece as such. I mean, part of the reason I'm so down on it is because it's so bloody boring. Like, I fell asleep during an action scene.
Oh, really? I mean, I quite enjoyed the action scenes. I think they definitely was sort of one of the more memorable parts for me. I couldn't tell you sort of what happened in sort of the filler parts of it, where it's like they go to the other parts of the world and they're like, what are we doing, kind of thing.
So I think my main problem with the way the representation of Black Panther is, I feel like I'm going to be treading on eggshells here, but oh well. It's because to me it feels like quite a patronising sort of execution of the idea, in the sense of like, oh no, of course there's this country full of black people and they're so much better than everyone else. Like, look, they're amazing. They're so much better. Look how special and intelligent they are. And it's like, we could do this a bit more authentically.
I mean, I didn't really see it sort of that way, but I guess to me it didn't really sort of come across that way. Yeah,
I don't know. It felt insincere to me and sort of like it hollow in a very sort of Hollywood designed by board of committee kind of way.
Yeah.
But I'm not against the idea. I just feel like...
No, I feel... Yeah, it could have been done a bit...
It was executed in a very sort of corporate, box-ticky kind of way, rather than something of any...
Yeah, more as a sort of genuine sort of...
authentic weight to it. Yeah. I mean, that's about something. But I mean, it's open to debate. I'm happy to concede that it's, it's a film that's worth existing.
Yeah.
I just think it should be made better. So if any of you guys at home have comments or viewpoints you'd like to send in, have read out on the show and maybe discussed, do drop us a comment on the YouTube videos, or you can send us an email at cinerambles@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to get in touch. We genuinely would love to see what you guys have to say and, debate your points on the show. I think it adds a lot more to the discussion to see what other people think and to offer their opinions.
Yes.
So don't be afraid. Pick up the laptop.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the laptop. Pick up the phone and email.
Use your phone as a laptop.
It's 2020, people.
Hey.
Wake up. And that address again is cinerambles@gmail.com. So now we're going to move on to a new section this week. So considering the recent haltage of basically every film coming out, yes, haltage is a word now, shut up. But considering there's basically nothing out in the cinemas, let alone any way to see it, we're going to be introducing a new feature for the remaining weeks of this crisis, which I'm going to call Field of Streams.
Ooh, very fancy.
Basically, we're going to be highlighting some of the best films and TV shows available on the various streaming networks, mainly Netflix and Amazon Prime, because are the main two ones I have. But obviously, other ones are available.
Me too.
But yeah, so just sort of highlighting some of the, not necessarily really obscure titles, but sort of the things people might not have seen that are maybe worth a watch now that we've got the Poe's opportunity to catch up with all the bountiful films available.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. So Grace, what recommendations have you got for people today?
Well, my first one is kind of a mini-series, I guess you could argue it's a film in a way. It's called Over the Garden Wall, which I think you've seen.
I have seen.
Yes.
I saw it in second year, I think.
Yes, that was one that I was like, you must see this one. But yes.
Yeah, I mean it is a series, but it's so short you could watch it as a film because I think it's an hour and 10 minutes.
That's pretty much what I did today before I came here.
Yeah.
So research.
So tell us about Over the Garden Wall. What do you like about it?
Well, what isn't there to love about it?
You would make a good review of that.
I know, no, I like it because of the fact it's 2D animation. It's the whole going back to like what I used to love about Disney, the animated drawings. It's not like the whole rendered thing in like studios where it's like 3D animation kind of thing. And
it's got that sort of heart as well of like, proper honest animation, that sort of creative soul.
I just generally like the overall story. It's not one of those that sort of really drags on too long. It's really like short and sweet.
And what is the story roughly?
So basically it's about these two brothers called Wirt and Greg, and they end up in a place where they're not 100% sure where they are, and they basically have to try and find their way home, but there's something that they know as the Beast trying to catch them.
Yes.
Very ominous.
And the mystery deepens as it continues, but we should not spoil it here.
And they meet loads of quirky people on their way back home.
Excellent. And that's available on Netflix?
Yes.
Stream. And who specifically would you recommend that for? Just everyone?
I'd say, I guess adults could watch it, but there's definitely some bits in it that you think, oh, this is more sort of for kids, but then there's definitely bits in it that you think, oh, I don't think I'd want a kid to sort of watch it. So maybe sort of 7 upwards, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it's sort of, it's definitely something kids can watch, but I think it's definitely aimed at sort of maybe older kids.
Yeah.
And it's definitely got a sort of a quality to it that adults can enjoy as well, which I quite like. It's probably, I'd say, closer to something like Gravity Falls.
Yeah, I was thinking Adventure Time, sort of that kind of sort of feel to it.
I haven't seen Adventure Time, you haven't seen Gravity Falls, so that cancels out. But yep, and what other recommendations have you got?
So the other one that I've got is called Derren Brown Sacrifice, which is basically the illusionist, hypnotist Derren Brown, who is convincing a guy who's not necessarily a racist, but he sort of has strong opinions on people that he believes are immigrants, in quotation marks, because, Mexicans.
Yeah.
That's the whole new debate. He's basically trying to convince him to take a bullet for a stranger that he's never met before, that is sort of that sort of idea of what he feels isn't a true American kind of thing. So yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm quite sceptical in the whole hypnotising works kind of thing. I'm very sort of sketchy on all that sort of thing. But it's quite interesting to see sort of how he gets into the guy's mind and sort of how manages to sort of hypnotise him in a way to be able to sort of build up his courage.
Yeah, it's like I think it was The Push I saw. Was another special. He's done a couple of specials, hasn't he? I think there are other
They're all
ones
very
available on Netflix.
similar things.
Yeah, but what I liked about it was there's sort of this Ocean's 11-esque sort of watching the sort of the plan and the sort of the theatrics of it unfold and how the individual gears work together to make this situation happen, which I find really interesting. Is that like an hour long?
I think it's hour and a half long.
Okay, so it's not even, doesn't even take up much of your afternoon.
No.
It's a nice snappy bit of entertainment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good, recommended. And so for my recommendations for the week, I've had to whittle these down a bit. But so this week I'm going to recommend as my film Annihilation, which I have bung on about before on this podcast.
I think I've heard it, but I can't picture it.
I probably told you. I keep telling people about this
Yes.
film. It's fantastic. It was the basis for my final year of uni screenplay. I love this film to pieces. Even though it's a flawed film, but it's great. So
if you had to
essentially,
summarize it, what would you say?
So I mean, essentially, it's about there's this sort of this zone of weirdness which no one can explain. It's basically this zone, and once you enter, the laws of physics don't apply properly, and it's expanding. And basically, this group of scientists are desperate to find out what's causing this and to stop it. So they send in a group of explorers to find out what's going on. And as they get closer to the middle, things just sort of unravel, sort of mentally and physically. And I mean, that's really all I can really say about it. It's very much the kind of film where it's sort of much more artistic and sort of sensory than sort of narrative, I suppose.
Yeah, would you say it's more sort of sci-fi horror? What kind of genre would you fit it in?
It's sci-fi horror. It's definitely, I'd say it's almost Lovecraftian as well. And it's sort of, it's very much this sort of unknown horror. Like the creatures in it are sort of so bizarre and indescribable. And that's where a lot of the horror comes from, is this grotesque imagery, this sort of distortion of the human form. And I like the fact that they are so utterly indescribable, and for that the atmosphere that they create is very unnerving. Like, it's one of the few horrors I've seen recently that's really gone under my skin with its atmosphere, and I think the music helps as well. But yeah, definitely any fan of horror or sci-fi, I think, really owes to see this, because it's got a very, I'd say, quite a unique experience.
Yeah. And how recent has that come out again?
That came out in 2018.
Okay, so quite recent then.
Yeah, and speaking on the subject of streaming, that was a film that it was supposed to come out in cinemas, and then when told to be cut down by Paramount, who thought it was basically too weird for mainstream audiences, they then refused, and thus it got relegated to streaming only outside of the US, which gives you an idea of just how bizarre this film gets towards the end. But yes, I'm a big fan of it. It's also, I imagine watching it with flu-like symptoms probably had an extra layer of fear to it, to be honest.
Being high.
Oh, I mean, when I first watched it, I was exhausted after a film shoot and also slightly drunk, and that was a strange experience. I mean, I did pass out partway through, but when I sort of woke up at points and sort of saw some of the imagery in this film, it was a very sort of chilling experience, and I think that sort of really left a mark on me.
Yeah.
I think that's also that cinema is a visual medium, and what I like about Annihilation is it truly is a sort of visual horror, and it fully uses sort of the power of imagery to creep someone out in a way I find quite delectable. So Annihilation is my recommended film of the week. And for series, I'm going to have to go with Happy Valley.
Okay, I've not heard of that one.
No, Happy Valley, it's written by Sally Wainwright, who also did Gentleman Jack, which you may have heard of.
I've heard of that one, yeah. Is that on, what's that one on? Amazon? Netflix?
BBC.
No, I meant as in...
Oh, sorry, Happy Valley. Happy Valley,
Yeah.
Both these are on Netflix. Happy Valley was her sort of previous work, which I think... There's 2 seasons on Netflix, and there's a 3rd and final season which is in the works, but I don't think it's coming out for a while. But essentially, it's about a police officer who has to deal with a sort of Fargo-esque sort of crime unraveling within her sort of quiet Yorkshire town. Basically, it's fantastically written and acted, and it just all comes together in such a pleasing way. So I just really love it. And again, don't want to talk too much about plot, because it's the kind of film. It's kind of series where you start watching, you're like, okay, I get where this is going, and then around episode 3 it just changes, and you're like, oh shit. Well, now I can't stop watching.
How long are the episodes?
They're an hour each, so yeah, 6-hour-long episodes per season.
Oh, so perfect for self-isolation.
Yeah.
Get it done in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, you could do a season a day if you've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's the kind of show that people will get hooked on, because I mean, I once I got to episode 3, I think I watched the rest of it in the space of about 2 days. So I had to know what happened next. That is impressive for me as well. I'm normally really slow.
Yes.
It's one of my favourite series of all time, I'd say. And not enough people have watched it. So I'd say if you're stuck in isolation and want something to watch, Happy Valley.
Boom.
It's great. And we'll have more of Field of Streams next week. And if you, again, would like to comment any suggestions, any recommendations you'd like us to voice on the show, cinerambles@gmail.com is the email to send them to. Cool. Well, so we move on to our sort of main topic for the day, which is Les Misérables.
Oh, good.
Which I recently watched the 2012 Tom Hooper one. And I know it's not a particularly recent film, but I think it needs talking about. Who better than a resident musical theatre expert here?
Yes. Not something I'd probably recommend if you're just getting into Les Mis. I definitely think there's better versions out there that you could listen to.
Yeah, like probably any version. Because this is my first real exposure to Les Mis, was watching this film.
Whereas for me, I'd probably say my first experience was the 10th anniversary concert at my uncle's house when I was about 13, 14 years old.
At his house?
Yeah.
Had the whole fit the whole concert in there. The whole audience and orchestra bit.
No, if only. No, that was on DVD.
Ah, DVD. Not even on
Back
Blu-ray.
in the day, before Blu-rays came.
Ah, really old then.
Yep.
But yeah, so Les Misérables, the 2012 film is sort of, it's interesting to think about, considering it's sort of neither one way nor the other did it really get a proper critical.
No.
No one really loved it, no one really hated it, and there was no sort of
I mean, when I saw it
opinion.
at the time, I was like, oh my god, look, it's great. And then sort of as I sort of watched it again, I was a bit like, oh, maybe it wasn't as great as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Sort of coming out of the phase of like, oh, it's the best show I've ever seen kind of thing.
I mean, the thing is as well, because it's probably one of the only major cinematic adaptations of the musical, rather than, I think, the original novel. Because there is at least one other Les Misérables film that predates it.
As far as I know, I think there's a few, but I don't think many of them, if any at all, are musical sort of orientated. It's more sort of... Because I think the BBC released a drama recently that was basically telling the story, but without singing. Yeah,
I think that's an adaptation of a novel rather than the hit musical, of which has become, in many ways, more famous than the novel, I'd probably say. And also the fact that it's such a high-profile, high-budget adaptation as well.
Yeah, I mean, considering, like, when it first opened, like, all those years ago, like, back in France, it wasn't even that successful, so it's really interesting to see how it's now gone on to become the longest musical of all time.
Longest musical of all time.
Longest running. You know what I mean.
The new 5-hour cut of Les Misérables.
Well, I mean, trying to condense 2,500 pages into a musical.
Is it 2,500?
It is.
That's longer than War and Peace.
It's pretty much, I think it's nicknamed The Brick because it's so thick. I've got the book somewhere at home.
The Brick, because it's thick.
Because it's thick. I've got the book at home somewhere and I haven't got around to reading it yet because I'm going to be there for like a year trying to read it.
Well, now, self-isolation, you've got the perfect excuse.
That's true.
But yeah, speaking of length, because the 2012 film was, I think, 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours 40. And I think one of the problems of it is it really feels longer than that. Like, it really starts to drag, and I can't comment for the original stage, which I imagine runs a lot smoother.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's definitely something quite clunky about the way the film was paced, where I felt even something like Tarkovsky's Stalker felt less, felt shorter than Les Misérables.
And that's saying something.
And that's also 10 minutes longer as well. But yeah, so the main thing of Les Misérables, probably the kernel of today's discussion, is casting.
Yes.
Because I think the biggest flaw of all of Les Misérables is the casting of such actors as Russell Crowe. Which I mean, a lot of people probably already know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But to a lesser extent as well, there's Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway, Sacha Baron Cohen, Helena Bonham Carter, all very famous screen presences and actors and actresses.
Yeah.
But not necessarily renowned for musical talent.
I mean, to be fair, Hugh Jackman has been in musicals in the past. So I think out of the main sort of the well-known ones, he's probably...
I'd say he's probably, out of all of those, I'd say he's probably the best of them in terms of his Les Mis performance.
Yeah. That's why they wrote that song in there for him, get the Oscar for new original song or whatever.
Which didn't even win, which is just funny.
I mean, it was unnecessary, in my opinion. I mean, in the show, that whole bit doesn't happen. It literally just transitions straight from, oh, she's a kid, suddenly she's an adult, and they're somewhere else now.
So the uninitiated, because all the songs are new to me, which bit is the new song?
So that's without trying to give away too many spoilers.
Oh, is it near the end?
No, it's at the start where he's just managed to get away with young Cosette before she transitions to become an adult.
Oh, okay.
And
Just like that.
He's sort of taken on the responsibility of being her father figure in her life.
Right.
But yeah, that's not in the show.
No.
And I think a lot of people have voiced opinions on not really enjoying that song much. But
Well, I think it's strange as well to hear when people are
Yeah.
so attached to the musical and know it inside out, to then have another song.
yeah, I mean, I
Put
think
in.
they could have put one in, but I feel like it had to sort of fit more with sort of like the whole sort of overall musical theme of it in terms of like what they were using, like instrument wise, etc.
But yeah, so so Russell Crowe's an interesting case though, because I think he is actually.
I think he's in a rock band. From
Yeah, he's-
my understanding.
He's trained in singing, but not the difference is he's not trained in musicals. He's trained in rock, which is a completely different discipline of singing. But what I find interesting is people do talk about him being like, the sore thumb vocally of this film.
I mean, I think there's definitely other people in there.
Yeah, I think the thing is because it's the opening song, "Look Down," is where he's the most obvious with his. It's
doesn't-
not sticking
yeah.
in. But the thing is, there's other points in the film where he's not actually that bad.
No, I think there's bits. I think that's the same with a lot of them though. There's bits where like you think, okay, yeah, they're quite good, and then there's other bits that you think, oh no, that was a bit pitchy, or that wasn't quite the right sort of note kind of thing.
So then there's a sort of an argument about whether you think it's more valuable, especially in a film adaptation, to have perfectly matched notes and sort of correct singing, or whether the acting and the performance is more important.
I think that's definitely something with a lot of like sort of musical adaptations becoming into films, sort of the whole, do we cast it based on like their ability to sing, or is it more the acting side of it?
Yeah, because I've seen arguments online saying that like, oh, I don't care that Anne Hathaway misses a few notes because the emotion of "I Dreamed a Dream" is so powerful that it doesn't matter that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Which I think is a valid argument.
Yeah, for that song definitely, because it's like she's at like her lowest point in her life. Like it's not necessarily going to be sung perfectly because she's obviously very upset about everything that's going on in her life. But
Yeah.
sort of when you're thinking sort of like with Javert when he's singing his song "Stars" about trying to hunt down Jean Valjean, like that was a bit pitchy, and I feel like that kind of needed to be sort of more, not like perfect as such, but like more note sort of
Also,
accurate.
Also, what's so weird about Russell Crowe is it's like, because when he sings like softer and quieter, he sounds alright. And it sounds like his normal like speaking voice. And when he
Yeah.
starts belting out, his voice changes entirely. It's like
Yeah,
a
I know
different
what you
tone
mean,
and
yeah.
a different pitch. It's like, if he just dubbed that.
Several takes probably.
Well, that's the thing. 'Cause there's also like it was recorded live on set as opposed to being overdubbed like a lot of
Yeah, and
musicals
they
are.
had the band playing in like a little earpiece in their ears,
Yeah.
so it was very much.
Is that unique to Les Mis then? Has that been done since?
As far as I know, it's basically sort of the same in the show. There's the band at the front in the little orchestra pit and singing over it. But in terms of the film, I think in terms of musical theatre films, I don't think a lot of them will play sort of live as such. Like, I mean, thinking of Cats, for example, that definitely wasn't played live.
Oh, God.
Yes.
It's strange that like it's the same director as Cats, Tom Hooper. And like, because I saw something about after Cats release, people being like, well, you might have to confront the fact that Tom Hooper might just not be a good director. And I've seen Les Misérables, I'm like, sorry, were we not already considering?
I mean, when I heard it was by him, I was kind of like, oh, that makes sense, kind of thing.
I think that's another problem with Les Misérables, the film, is it seems like maybe it's badly directed. Like there's a lot of elements going on. I think they're sort of
And definitely the whole like overall like cinematography of it, like that was
Yes.
really like
the cinematography and the
beautiful,
editing
like,
is just sort of
the opening where they're actually like in the water, like all the
Yeah.
waves over them, kind of thing. Like you don't get that in like in the theatre. It made like so much more sense what they were kind of doing.
There's definitely a lot more scale offered by the cinematography. There's a lot more sort of sweeping, sort of
Yes.
grand shots of Paris and stuff, which I think add to it. Because I mean, it is an epic story
Yes.
in every
Yeah.
sense of the word. And I think that does add to it a lot more than stage can. However, there is editing problems with the film.
Yes, as you pointed out to me yesterday.
Yes, there are certain moments where I feel like the editing is sort of too frantic for its own good.
They don't know who to focus on. It's kind of like, oh, we got to focus on this character.
Yeah.
Oh, this character. Oh, ah.
Like there's a song relatively near the end with it's being sung between Cosette and Jean Valjean. Is that right?
The dad or the...
Yes, and then Marius.
Yes.
Trying to remember all the names here.
That's the quiz.
And it's the film is cutting between all three of them so frantically. I can always picture like a vision mixer slamming the buttons, trying to work out where to go next.
Oh no, we've got to focus on Hugh Jackman because he's the main guy.
That's the thing, because it's like they're on those two, and he like, cuts back to Hugh Jackman for like a second, and then straight back again. It's like just cut that shot out. And Cats had that as well, like some poor editing.
Yeah.
Which I know Tom Hooper had a hand in editing Cats last minute, so I'm wondering if he had a hand in editing Les Mis and he just can't edit, which might be possible.
Maybe we'll have to look that one up, I think, as to whether he was credited as an editor on the film or not.
Yeah. Do contact him if you know. Even though we're probably going to IMDb this the minute we finish recording. But oh well.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, Les Mis. Any other comments on the film about why you think it doesn't work as well?
I think it's mainly just down to some of the casting choices. I don't think the Thénardiers have been necessarily cast that well. And I mean, I know they're not supposed to be the best singers because they're not necessarily the best in the show.
Who was playing Thénardier?
In the musical?
In the film?
Sacha...
Oh yes, Sacha Baron Cohen, yeah.
Forgive me for pronouncing that wrong, but yeah, but it's meant to be comic relief. It's meant to be funny. It's meant to be like, it's literally the only like good fit sort of happy thing in the like whole musical, but in the film it was a bit sort of dull still. Well,
for me this scene felt actually, the Master of the House song felt weirdly out of place because there's a musical title of The Miserable Ones and it's so far been very doom and gloom and quite miserable, and then we have this weirdly raunchy borderline sex comedy kind of style number with Helena Bonham Carter and Sacha Baron Cohen being all sort of
but I feel like they definitely bigged it up more in the film than what it is in the show, because in the show it's literally just him being like, oh, I'm a con man basically, I'm going to steal everyone's stuff, but
I can see it as being like sort of essentially like a drunken ballad maybe in the side of an inn.
That's basically what they're trying to get in the musical.
Or on the film, it's so grand. It feels like sort of...
Yeah, it's just sort of thrown in there, isn't it? Like, hey, we're here, we exist.
Yeah, it feels like something that's from like a carry-on musical or something. It's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that also just maybe generally there's sort of some weird, maybe not so much tonal shifts in the film, but I think that because there's a lot of things to focus on, and I feel it jumps between things quite a lot. Like it struggles to balance all the different plots and characters going on. Like in particular, I think the romance of Cosette, I think is sort of, it seems to be sort of shoved in there quite quickly between the battles.
Yeah, I feel like in the musical that's you're not going to sort of get much change between that. It is sort of very sudden. Yeah. They meet, they don't see each other for a while, and then suddenly they're back together. Yeah,
I mean, I get it's no novel, but it's like, oh, I saw her across a crowded street and now I'm madly in love with her. And it's like, mate, you don't even know her.
I mean, yeah, in the musical, they like linger a bit and they're like, oh, like, because he knocks into her, knocks her over, and he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, kind of thing.
And then love happens.
Yeah, but like in the concert, when I saw it, like they sort of casually, awkwardly like bump into each other, kind of thing, like, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there, kind of thing. So it's sort of like there is a bit of sort of chemistry there, whereas in the film it's kind of like, hey, I see you, and then it's like, oh, she's gone, okay.
In the film it's literally like he just sees her and it's like it goes slow motion, he just stares at her and it's like, I am now in love.
And she's not weirded out by that at all.
Yeah, she just sees him at the gate and it's like, yeah, alright, I'm mad in love with you too.
This is the first man I've seen in like years, apart from my dad. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting to think that that's still a problem in the musical itself and not just the film. Because I think the film, as far as I can gauge, seems like a relatively direct translation.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously bits they've had to cut out because, again, long ass book.
And the musical itself must be, what, 3 hours?
I'd say maybe a bit less than that, but then I'm also including the interval sort of in that runtime. So, yeah, I'd probably say if you're including interval, then yeah, probably about the same. But it doesn't feel like when we went to go see it recently, we sort of looked at the time and we were like, oh my god, how has it gone like that quick, kind of thing. Whereas with the film, it's kind of like, oh, okay. I
think the film could have done with an interval.
Yeah.
There were times when I checked the sort of the little meter at the bottom of Netflix that tells you how far you are through the film. I was like, oh yeah, we'll be about, like an hour or so through, and it's like 40 minutes. Like,
oh yeah, but
okay.
you did sort of pick up where sort of the interval would have been should you have seen the show rather than the film.
Which was... That's the other thing, there's all these sort of like jumps in time, which I find, which apparently are also in the musical, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it's like, because Jean Valjean, like, right at the beginning is like, oh no, I must I must start again and make a new life for myself. And then suddenly he's like, and now he's the mayor. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
They kind of
okay.
cut out him working his way up to that sort of
But
role.
that seems like it could be a film in itself. Like that's,
Maybe that will be its sequel.
like going from a criminal on the run to mayor of a town and no one suspects. Like that's quite a big change in character.
I mean, yeah, they try to hunt him down, but they don't do a very good job at finding him. And then they're like, oh, we found him, and then it's not him. And kind of in the show, it's kind of ironic because he's so adamant, I've got the guy, I've got him, there's no mistaking it. And he's sort of like, oh, but what if I was the person? And he's like, no, it can't be you, kind of thing. Whereas in the film, it doesn't really sort of give you that. It's just Javert being a bit like, no, I'm not questioning you, I promise, kind of thing.
Yeah. And he just sings it as well.
He sings it as well in that weird sort of high pitch.
That's the weird thing. There were points, I know the musical is sung through, but there are points in the film where it's like, it looks like you want to be saying this. Are you sure you don't want to just ignore part and just say this as dialogue? Because otherwise, every line
Javert.
Javert, isn't it?
Javert.
It's like almost because every line Javert says, I think, is sung, and there's times where it doesn't help when he's trying to be serious. He's going, I'm singing in this Russell Crowe voice. I'm like, don't, please.
Yeah, no, I think it would have helped if it was someone else, make it less awkward. Definitely the guy we saw, it made sense, him singing everything.
Yeah. Probably being musically trained does help, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the concert we had, we saw Matt Lucas's Thénardier, and he sort of would improvise a bit on stage, and it worked quite well for the character, and that was spoken, and it like fitted with the whole overall sort of gist of the show. There wasn't sort of any like awkward, why is he not singing kind of thing. So yeah.
So in conclusion, Les Misérables 2012. It's all right.
Go watch the musical rather than the film.
Yeah, I would say it's you can see the sort of the quality of the show shining through at points, but it just makes you want to go watch that, I think, rather than...
Yeah. If they got sort of better, like, in terms of vocal-wise, I think if they got better vocals and, like, kept, like, the whole, like, cinematography, then I feel like it would have been overall better.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
But yeah, for the time being, 6 out of 10, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Okay. Now, on to possibly our final topic for today.
Who knows?
We got a film to talk about, review. Not a recent release, but one that I think has more or less flown under the radar, would you say?
Until I introduced you to it the other day.
Yes.
Much to your dismay.
A horror film called 12-12-12.
So sinister, I know.
Sequel to horror film 11-11-11. And prequel. Followed by 13-13. Yeah, as far as I know, they haven't branched out from a trilogy yet.
Yes, long may they not do that, because that was, oh my god.
I mean, they've run out of months. I mean, they've already run out of months with 13, to be honest.
I mean, yeah.
Because it's for those who don't know, this is a date. So 12th of December 2012 is
really.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
yeah. So this is a film about. So a child is born on the 12th of December 2012, and he's Satan. And
really giving the spoilers away there.
That's the opening.
Yes, I know.
It opens with a satanic cult. I don't think it's a spoiler.
That's already setting the tone for the film, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, this will also set the tone of the film. Not just a baby, possibly the worst sort of
paper
practical
mache
effect
puppet thing.
It looks like it's made of wood. Like, you talk about wood and acting, and this baby, it looks like a totem pole.
Oh, yes.
It looks like the Eraserhead baby, but a really poor, like a cheap model of it. But yeah, so
there's a reason they don't show the baby very much in the film.
Oh, you see it enough though. When
when
people are holding it to their necks.
It's not even making contact with their necks. It's just there.
Yeah.
Blood everywhere.
So this film is about the Satan child basically murdering everyone in sight, and a mother who doesn't seem as concerned as she probably should be. Like, so it opens more or less with the scene of it being born, and it mauls these two doctors to death at the neck.
Well, I mean, it strangles one of them with its own umbilical cord.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's already setting the whole tone of the
film.
film.
Then, with these two doctors dead on the floor and blood everywhere, the mother's just cradles the baby like, he's lovely.
She kind of just passes out and sort of seems to have forgotten everything that's just happened.
It's like, I'm going to call him Sebastian. Like,
no one seems to be concerned about the fact there's two dead guys. And also that woman that gets killed by that weird satanic guy that's just lurking everywhere for some reason.
Oh yeah, the weird creepy mute guy sort of just
Yeah.
follows around the hospital with no security on his back, just sort of
And
bursting into rooms.
Yeah, the one time that is security, he just sort of walks off like, oh, guess I've been stopped.
Yeah.
That's foiled my plans. I guess I'll just go now.
But yes, so without just listing all the deaths in the film, we should try and review it.
How do we go about this?
This is a film where truly everything is wrong with it.
Mm.
Like there's not a single element that was done correctly.
No.
So first, cinematography is clearly done by someone who's read about Dutch angles and is like, Dutch angles make everything horrific. I will shoot every single fucking shot
Pretty much.
as a Dutch angle.
Yeah, you're gonna get a sore neck by the end of the film.
Regardless of how sinister a shot it is, it's just like, here's an establishing shot of a house at 45 degrees. Here's a shot of a man walking at 45 degrees.
And the one times that there weren't, it was just constantly jumping between different shots. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's another film that's edited just frenetically.
I think it was like, take a shot every time it changes after like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, it would literally wouldn't linger on a shot for more than like a couple of seconds at a time, would it? No. And I mean, also, okay, so think of something like The Exorcist.
Yes.
Which is sort of like the quintessential sort of demon possession thing. And all the sort of the creative shit they do with it. Well, yeah, but also like, you know, the thing about like the head rotating, we've got like the vomit, we've got like the levitation, we've got like...
her walking on her back at one point.
Yeah, we've got all these sort of quite creative sort of like, you know, ways expressing his violence and stuff.
And the visual effects on her.
Yeah.
Like, making her look that way.
But the only thing they can think to do in 12-12-12 is just have it maul people at the neck and look a bit weird.
Hold it on their neck, not even making contact with their neck. That kind
like
of...
they're struggling to remove a scarf. I mean, there's also no like sort of when they do die, there's like no evidence either. It's like just slightly redder than usual.
Yeah.
But also, so occasionally, the one other thing it does possess people and try to kill them. But it's
not very clear that that's sort of happening. Like,
it's so unclearly defined because we sort of just see these people suddenly stop and then kill themselves in some way.
Into the void, and they're like, oh.
And we're just supposed to connect the dots that was the child somehow with like
somehow
because we see a glimpse of it. I mean,
what would you say your like standout death of the film was? Would you say?
I mean, they were all pretty similar, to be honest.
I mean,
it's, do you like death by mauling at the neck, or death by mauling at the neck, or death by box cutter to the neck?
To be fair, there was that one who sort of threw herself off a cliff wherever she may have been.
Oh yes,
that kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yes, a shot with no previously established geography, and yet this woman can somehow find a cliff deep enough that she can jump off and die next to it, in the middle of a field.
After saying that the baby like smelt or something, and she's like, "Oh God, no wonder your parents abandoned you." It's like, all right.
But she called the police, so it's okay.
That's true. I mean, the police were fucking useless in that. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, I remember Detective Lollipop.
Yes. I'm a detective because I have a lollipop in my mouth. And like, I can't remember what he said at the end of the film, but like, he just walks in on the satanic cult and he's like, "Oh yeah, some fucking weirdos. Let's do this." Who says that?
Also, speaking of that sort of final confrontation with the police, the police never shoot when they should. I know this is a common trope in action films and films generally, but when you've seen these Satan worshippers literally killing people in front of you, it's like, "I'm warning you, if you take another step, I'll shoot you." He then takes another step. I'm gonna shoot you.
To his credit, that one guy did shoot him. Didn't kill him, but he shot him.
At point blank range.
Yeah. I mean, he sort of went down and he thought he's dead, and then he just gets back up again like, "I'm fine, I haven't been..." It's like he hadn't just been shot in the chest or wherever it was he'd just been shot. But yeah, I no idea what that was about.
No. Not a film I'd recommend.
No.
Not a film that anyone needs to see.
I mean, if you're looking for shit films to watch, definitely watch it, but...
Yeah, but like... It
don't.
baffles me. I said, like, the one thing I'd sort of conclude with is, it amazes me how films like this are made. Like, how people watch them and go, yes, this is fine.
This is okay to make.
No, but like, also like, this shot works. This is good acting. This story works.
This
That's
angle
a good
was the
effect.
best angle.
Like, I mean, I don't know the production history behind it. Maybe.
Also, that ending though, where like she's dead and then she just comes back to life again. What was that about?
Spoilers.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Who's going to watch this?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much of a story to spoil, really.
No.
It's not the kind of film that's going
Devil baby.
to surprise you in any way. I mean, really, once you've seen like opening 5 minutes of baby kills people and then mother doesn't seem to care, that is the film.
90% of the film, other 10% is trying to find where the fuck the child's gone.
Yeah, because he magically teleports.
Yeah, that's not really explained, is it?
No. Also, we get like a weird montage of all the deaths like prior to the film ending, just as if it's like, you have been watching.
You have been
this
watching.
man, this lady, this idiot.
You just get the Seinfeld music over the top.
Oh God. Probably be an improvement to make it a Seinfeld episode. Well, I don't know. Have you got anything else to say on 12, 12, 12?
Apart from don't watch.
Just don't see it.
Just don't see it.
No, not worth your time. There's better things out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're on like day 14 of quarantine and you're absolutely desperate, you've already exhausted everything else we've recommended to you here today.
No, there's too much good content out there to have been exhausted. Even you don't need to resort to this.
The fact it's on Netflix though, just
Amazon Prime
really goes to show, doesn't it? How little people they think of the film.
I wonder how much it costs to get something licensed to go on Amazon Prime, because I bet it's more than the budget of the film.
Oh, like it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay, so I think that brings things to a close for this week's episode. You've been listening to Ciné Rambles with Nick.
And Grace.
And once again, thanks to Grace for coming in on this podcast and hosting with me.
Bringing me along.
Yeah, it's been great. Had a nice little chat about musicals and all your Netflix recommendations.
And 12, 12, 12.
Yeah. And you're welcome back on the show at some point, I'm sure, once you figure out how to record 3 people at once. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CineRamblesOfficial and on Twitter at CineRambles. And for more content, you can read the blog over at cinerambles.blogspot.com. And of course, as always, if you'd like to comment in any reviews, suggestions, viewpoints, anything at all, cinerambles@gmail.com is where you'd like to send those. So have you got any closing remarks before we end?
Apart from don't watch 12, 12, 12, that's all I can really think of. And go see Les Mis in the musical rather than the film.
Once it opens again.
I mean, yeah.
Once we're not on lockdown.
Well, yeah, but you can get the concert. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can do anything.
If you put your mind to it.
If you put your mind to it. Anything's possible if you put your mind to it.
There's a nice bit of positivity in this time of crisis. Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.